Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I am back so soon. I am back so soon and I am so excited to be back because of course now you know the drill, guys. I'm back here to read for you another of my articles. Hey Kwanzaa, this one is a juicy one. It's a really juicy one, and for this one I've started from part 2, so it's also another series, but I'm going to be reading part 2 of this series. You can follow, and if you want to know what happened before this, go to my blog teshieogalo.com. I'm going to leave all the links in the description box. So yeah, guys, before I ramble on for too long in this introduction, let's just get right into the video. Okay, so the topic or the title of today's article is called Champagne Girls. Champagne Girls, yes guys, I was a champagne girl in my past. Oh my god, but you guys will get to know about more of the story, once I start reading. So this article, Champagne Girls, is part of a series called Tinder Swindlers of Africa. So I have a series on my blog called Tinder Swindlers of Africa. I don't know if you guys have watched the Netflix documentary Tinder Swindlers. It was trending when it came out a couple of months ago. It's basically about like online fraudsters, but this particular fraudster was on Tinder, so he was swindling people for money on Tinder. So just now you can maybe have a rough idea about what the article is gonna be about. So let's just get right into it. Champagne Girls, Tinder Swindlers of Africa, Part 2. Trust introduced McKenna and I to the world of luxury and VIP treatment in the Cape Town club scene. We became more aware and could easily spot Yahoo boys in the club. We figured that we might as well benefit from this growing business in one way or another. These Nigerian men were defrauding older, richer white women and using the money these women sent them to party their nights away and live above their means. We too wanted a slice of the cake. Because we knew they were doing something illegal, we didn't feel bad for using these men for their money. Our strengths included our dashing looks, which would attract literally any man we set our eyes on, and our intelligence, which impressed a lot of these men who didn't seem very educated. We used our strengths to our advantage and got accustomed to premium baby girl lifestyle when we went out. We would only drink expensive champagne and would always be at the biggest VIP table, chilling with the richest men in the club. These men gave us preferential treatment to the other girls they would hang out with. A lot of the time, we were surrounded by gorgeous industry models and actresses. Many of these models would be exotic and international. McKenna and I would be the only other girls who weren't professional models. We were much shorter than them, but our personalities really shone through everywhere we went. We commanded attention, and the Yahoo boys couldn't help but watch us as we ran the show night after night. McKenna and I met Jamal on a Wednesday night. We had just attended a Marie Claire event and later decided to rock up at this popular club called 169 on Long Street. The evening was a bit quiet, but as always, we were both dressed to kill. I look back right now and honestly wonder how we had so much energy then to look good and party almost every night. I was really eating life with a big spoon at the age of 20. We immediately hit the dance floor and wasted no time in gyrating our curvy bodies, which were exalted by the disco lights and the sexy dresses we had on. This was our standard procedure at any club. Dress to kill, show up to the club, hit the dance floor, and in no time would have a flood of men begging for our attention and to spoil us for the rest of the nights. Jamal was seated alone at the VIP table on one side of the room. He was sipping on some Hennessy, as per the usual. In the middle of our dance, a man approached McKenna and whispered something into her ear. She gave me that look that made me know that we had just landed our champagne table of the night. Lol. The man walked off as he directed us to the table at the far end of the room. We followed him while McKenna briefed me on what had just transpired. Apparently this man worked for Jamal, who had sent the man to invite us to join him on the VIP table. McKenna and I sat across from Jamal as he quickly ordered the waiter to bring us a bottle of the best champagne in the house. I remember thinking how incredibly good-looking Jamal was. He was a true definition of a tall, dark, and handsome West African man. He also had really long and well-kept dreads, that I couldn't help but swoon over. He asked us what we do and was impressed to hear that we were students at the University of Cape Town. At that point in my life, I was really pushing my fashion blog and getting into the media scene in Cape Town. I also mentioned how I was a fashion blogger, and McKenna expressed her similar interest in fashion and the arts in general. Jamal's eyes lit up the more we spoke to each other. It was truly refreshing to finally meet a Yahoo boy who seemed really wealthy but also well educated and well traveled. Jamal told us that he was also a major player in the entertainment industry and mentioned something about being a music producer. Soon after, Jamal got a call and had to leave the club. He said goodbye and told the man working for him, who seemed a lot like a bodyguard, to take our numbers down. McKenna and I were left in the VIP area, dancing away as we sipped on our expensive bubbly. Not even half an hour had passed when McKenna got a call on her phone from an unknown number. It was Jamal's bodyguard. He told her that Jamal had an important business meeting but would love to see us after. He was sending us a private cab to pick us up from the club and take us to the hotel where we would be meeting Jamal. I know you're probably reading this and wondering how we could even dare to accept such a risky offer. But McKenna and I were electrifying together. We influenced each other to take big risks and aim for the moon. We therefore decided to go. We left our bottle of champagne unfinished, our lipstick-stained glasses half full, and rushed out to meet our cab driver. We were terribly excited. The driver pulled up to the Doubletree by Hilton Hotel in Upper East Side, Woodstock. It is a four-star hotel and quite beautiful. McKenna and I were over the moon as we walked up to the hotel reception. She made a phone call to Jamal, who had personally called her earlier when we were on our way to the hotel. At least we were finally dealing with him directly and not his bodyguard. Jamal assured McKenna that he would take care of us and told her to give him a call when we got to the reception. McKenna passed over the phone to the receptionist, who took down some instructions from Jamal on the phone. She then hung up, gave us a forced smile, and asked us to follow her. I remember feeling a bit nervous going up the lifts, wondering what the night had in store for us. McKenna and I craved thrill and excitement when we were together. We thrived on being the true definition of young, wild, and free. When McKenna saw the look of slight terror on my face, she did her best to calm me down, assuring me that we were in this together. When we got off the lift, we were pleasantly surprised to be in the hotel suite section. We were led to our suite and shown around the room before being left alone. McKenna and I couldn't believe our reality. We had just been checked into a 2-story suite. The lower floor comprised of a gorgeous lounge area, a dining room, and a minibar area. It was also decadent and luxurious. We screamed with excitement and danced around the suite as we wondered what type of luck had befallen us that night. The hotel staff had also left us with a chilled bottle of bubbly, which we quickly popped open and began to sip on as we rushed upstairs to see what the top floor had in store for us. The top floor had a rather large bed, a bathroom, and a closet. We sat on the bed and looked at each other as it started to dawn on us that all these nice things were just a distraction and a cherry on top of the cake that we were about to eat. It was just McKenna and I in the suite. Jamal had spoken to her once we checked in, telling her to get comfortable while he finished up with his business meeting. After about an hour or so, there was a knock on our door. McKenna rushed down to open and I decided to get comfortable on the couch. Jamal walked in and again I was blown away by how good looking he was. He had a lot of presence and his height was very attractive to me. We spent the next hour or so discussing our lives and future goals with him. He told us that he was Nigerian and worked in the entertainment industry. I think he mentioned something about owning a music producing company as well as a modeling agency. At that time, McKenna and I were working on getting ourselves into the Cape Town media industry, and so we're really happy to make this new network. McKenna was the more confident one between the two of us. Unlike me, she was very sexually liberated at the time, and I admired how free she was to explore her sexuality. I envied that about her and really looked up to her. I was still dealing with trying to get rid of the shame associated around sex that I had acquired from Catholic school. When men would approach McKenna and I, she would always take the lead in being more flirtatious and sensual, which would quickly draw their attention. I would eventually end up being the third wheel, which I totally loved because I got to experience all the nice benefits without having to engage in sexual acts that I was not comfortable with doing yet. Jamal then asked us to prepare for bed. McKenna and I had secretly been wondering how the sleeping situation would work, as there was only one bed in the suite. McKenna and I huddled upstairs as my heart started racing. My last sexual encounter had been rather terrible, and I was not ready to engage in anything sexual with this man. McKenna whispered into my ear multiple times, "Don't worry, Teshie. I got this. I'll take one for the team." We got into bed and turned to face opposite sides of the bed. The lights downstairs went off, and we could hear Jamal making his way up the steps to the bedroom where we were sleeping. He got in between the two of us and murmured a good night. The room was pitch dark, and all I could hear was the sound of my heart racing. Jamal then started to caress my body. He had turned to face my side, and his hands were exploring my soft skin, gently squeezing my bum in intervals. It felt good. He became a bit more courageous, and his fingers started to make their way towards my vaginal area. I was turned with my back towards him and did not move an inch as he caressed my body. Once he started trying to gain access to my vagina, I shut my legs tightly together and started to squirm, trying to communicate to him that I was not willing to let him go there. He soon got the point and turned his body to face McKenna. I felt a huge sense of relief filling up my chest. I still didn't turn to face the other side, but instead kept my gaze glued onto the wall ahead of me. In a couple of minutes, I could feel a lot of movement from Jamal and McKenna. He was on top of her and they started to have sex, right there with me laying beside them. I was in utter shock, but something about it all turned me on. If I'm being very honest with myself, I think I definitely had a small crush on McKenna. Now that I think about it, the way she carried herself, her looks, and her impeccable style always turned me on. I had never experienced anything like that in my life. The sex didn't last long. Jamal finished rather quickly and immediately fell asleep. My mind raced for a while, replaying McKenna's last words until I too fell asleep. The next morning, Jamal left our room rather early. He actually had his own suite and had just booked this one for the two of us for the night. McKenna and I were glad to be alone again. We enjoyed a breakfast spread which was brought up to our suite as we replayed the night's events. After freshening up, we quickly called a cab and rushed to upper campus as I had a compulsory information systems class that morning. That night, Jamal invited the two of us to party with them at this high-end champagne bar called Jade Lounge. Back in 2015, Jade Lounge was the definition of luxurious VIP nightlife in Cape Town. Jade Thursdays were also a big deal. Of course, we accepted the invite and made sure to show up in the sexiest, most fashionable outfits we could put together for the night. We got to the club rather late and told the bouncers at the entrance that we were there with Jamal. One of them immediately left his post to direct us to the VIP area where Jamal and his crew were seated. We were not ready for what we were about to experience. It was a rather grand affair. Jamal was throwing this huge party at Jade for his older brother, whose birthday was on that coming weekend. His older brother looked much older, like a mubaba. He was maybe in his early 50s and probably had a whole family back at home. We were introduced to him personally and made to sit in between him and Jamal. I had never been around so much champagne and money in my life. Slowly by slowly, more girls started to stream into our VIP section. All the ladies invited were high-fashion, exotic-looking models or actresses. We were surrounded by tall, gorgeous women everywhere we looked. I felt slightly intimidated, but we were getting preferential treatment, which helped to make me feel a bit more at ease. The amount of champagne bottles popped that night was insane. The waitresses were constantly on standby, walking up and down the VIP area with champagne to fill up your glass the moment you put it down, even if it wasn't empty. It was quite an experience. When the bill came, McKenna and I stared in wonder as Jamal started counting dollar bills right in front of us. This man was not even bothering to use rands to pay the bill. Instead, he removed a stack of 100 US dollar bills from his pocket and started counting his money bit by bit until he came up with enough to foot the whole bill. McKenna and I gave each other a look as we confirmed that Jamal was probably also involved in the Yahoo boy business. That weekend, we were invited for a super fancy dinner at the one and only hotel at the waterfront in Cape Town. This is a 5-star hotel and the most expensive hotel in Cape Town. Of course, it was all our first time there. McKenna also invited another gorgeous girlfriend of hers to accompany us, so we were through. The dinner was a birthday celebration of Jamal's older brother. The three of us arrived in the late afternoon and were blown away by the decadence of the hotel. It all just looked filthy rich. The cars that were pulling up the driveway were either the latest luxury German cars or really classic vintage cars. It felt like we had stepped right into a movie where we were the main characters being introduced to an impeccable world of fine things and luxury. I'll never forget that evening. I still don't know the full truth about these two brothers, but one thing is for sure. They were definitely at the top of the game of whatever shady business or legitimate media company they were running. We made our way to the penthouse at the one and only. I was surprised when they told us that Jamal's older brother actually owned it. It was a very classy affair. They had only invited a few ladies, us included, as well as a few family members. It was quite intimate and I love intimacy, so I felt right at home. We talked about the media and fashion industry, got advice from some professional women in the industry, some of whom I admire and follow on social media to this day, and ate to our fill. After dinner, we enjoyed some champagne and prepared to head out to the club. This is where things started getting a bit weird. At the club, more gorgeous models started to arrive. I could tell McKenna was starting to really like Jamal and was jealous about how much attention he got from other women. They had an argument in the club about this. McKenna then decided to retaliate and make Jamal feel jealous by being extremely seductive and flirtatious with one of his friends. Of course, it got to Jamal and he started making advances on me. He begged me to leave the club with him and whispered sweet nothings into my ear. He kept comparing me to McKenna, saying how much better I was and how he should have initially picked me because my friend was a slut. This moment was actually a huge temptation for me because I was really attracted to Jamal and his money. However, I don't think there's anything I value more than sisterhood and the girl code, so I turned him down. Soon after, the two of them had made up and we all decided to leave the club and head back to the one and only penthouse where we would spend the night. McKenna didn't like that we had picked up a few more models from the club to join us. Personally, I was really enjoying being surrounded by all these gorgeous women and feminine energy. My friend McKenna was quite drunk and got into an argument with one of the models there. They insulted each other and I think McKenna even tried throwing a punch. At this point, McKenna had frustrated most of the girls and even guys there, and Jamal decided it best to ask us to leave. That was the last day we hung out with Jamal. The next time we saw him, we were at a fashion show at this exclusive venue that would throw the best fashion parties. We had been invited by the organizer, who was another Nigerian that was slowly building his empire in the fashion industry. He's actually quite a famous media personality in Cape Town, and so we won't mention his name. However, there are many rumors about how he initially made his money from the Yahoo boy business and later used this to invest in his fashion and entertainment career. Anyway, I digress. That night, I met the Nigerian man whom I would eventually date for about 3 years. To be continued. Guys, that is the story. That is the story. So I have not yet written part 3 of this story because I feel like that's going to be like quite a juicy story. I don't know if I'm going, I don't know, we'll see. I don't know when I'm gonna write it, or if I'm going to write it on my blog, or if I should just like wait to write it in my book, because I definitely want to start writing my book soon, guys. I'm trying to get a book deal. I'm really trying to get funding for my book, so please share my reading, share my articles, or share this YouTube video with people who you think could help me on this journey of trying to get a book deal or just trying to get funding for this book, because I think I'm ready to start writing it. And yeah, I just need a lot of support to actually like produce this book. But that is the story, guys. I know I have so much that on so many Nigerians in Cape Town, so much that, and I'm actually happy that I'm here in Nairobi and not in Cape Town while I'm writing this, because if I was on the streets of Cape Town talking about them like that, I think I'd be afraid for my life. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave any comments in the comment section, you know, any comments about the story, any questions that you may have, what you've thought about the story. Maybe also you can also suggest what article you'd want me to read next. I think that would also be really cool. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in my next video. Make sure to also check out my blog to keep up to date with all the juicy gossip and girl talk. And I guess I will see you in my next YouTube video. Bye.